wavy, curly, or straight. For the most part, East Asians tend to have straight hair. It can be difficult to try different styles when your hair naturally doesn't have a bit of curl, but that doesn't have to be the case. Nowadays, more and more people are perming their hair. In short, a perm or permanent gives curls to those who would naturally have stick-straight hair. But not all hair is suitable for perming, nor should all hair be permed the same way. Hair that is too thin or fine may become frizzy and damaged after a perm. In addition, different types of hair require different amounts of permanent solution. One might think that Asian hair is more difficult to curl, but according to hair experts, this is a myth. In reality, Asian hair is more absorbent than other types of hair. However, untrained hairdressers tend to leave perming solution in too long, unintentionally frying their customers' hair. These days, it is common to purchase at-home perm kits. That said, one has to be careful not to leave the chemicals in too long, which may lead to hair breakage and even irritation of the scalp. In fact, even sudden changes in temperature could leave one with nothing but a shiny scalp instead of curly hair. In the end, it's up to you to decide whether getting a perm is worth an animal in the home can benefit all members of the family. There are many aspects of pet ownership that one should closely reflect on before adopting an animal. Some of the factors include 1. Health issues, 2. Financial responsibilities, 3. Day-to-day responsibilities, and lastly, 4. Familial issues. Find an appropriate category for the problems discussed in each of the following paragraphs. Several issues should be carefully weighed when thinking about bringing a pet into the home. In addition to veterinarian bills that may be incurred, monthly expenses for food should also be considered. Animals that need grooming to maintain their appearance may have to be taken to costly groomers every so often. Reviewing one's monthly income and how a pet will cut into this should be thought out. Caring for a pet goes far beyond feeding it and providing it with shelter. For instance, vaccinations that will ensure the long-term well-being of the pet are crucial. Dogs and cats, whether they are kept indoors or not, should be vaccinated against rabies. Though most humans are concerned with their own diet, the diet one's pet eats can also have positive or negative effects on the animal. Under no circumstances should table food be given to a pet. These problems can generally be avoided if every member is either involved in the selection process or, at the very least, considered. A vital factor to take into consideration when one selects a pet is its breed. A breed known to attack without provocation isn't ideal in a home with young children. Potential pet owners should also steer clear of larger animals that may pose a threat to smaller members of the family or the elderly. These pets may seem harmless, but a play session could prove to be deadly if the animal gets slightly out of control. Do you do voodoo? When most people hear the word voodoo, they instantly think of dolls with pins stuck in them. Poking pins in a doll is said to inflict pain upon the person that the doll represents. Of course, this isn't reality, but how Hollywood sees it. Voodoo, or more accurately, Vodun, is a very ancient, complex religion. Vodun is estimated to be 6,000 years old. The word itself can be traced to an African word for spirit. Its followers believe that all things have spirits within them. Just like believers in other world religions, followers of Vodun often look to their ancestors for guidance in today's world. The religion began in and around present-day Nigeria. It was later spread to the Caribbean and the Americas when slaves were transported there. Slave masters, primarily Roman Catholics, made Vodun illegal because it connected the slaves to their African roots. Adherents of Vodun were forced to worship at night long after their masters had gone to bed. When followers were caught, they often paid for it with their lives. With changing times have come changes in the way Vodun is viewed by the world. It is now practiced by millions of people in countries such as Benin and Haiti. It should not be feared. After all, most priests and priestesses of Odin confine their work to white magic, leaving voodoo dolls to scenes in sky. Horror films. Ellen Church, a registered nurse by trade, changed the world of aviation when she set foot on a Boeing Air Transport (BAT) flight on May 15, 1930. On this day, Church and 7 other women became the first ever flight attendants. In the 20s, planes were a relatively new form of transportation, so passengers weren't thoroughly convinced of the safety of flying. Church, who had been taking flying lessons, initially approached BAT with aspirations of being a pilot for the airline. Though not hired as a pilot, she had a stroke of brilliance when she suggested that nurses be placed on the flights to combat the public's fear about the safety of flying. Soon other airlines followed suit, and flying would never be the same. In the early days of flight attendants, there were strict guidelines as to who could fill these positions. Known as stewardesses, sky girls, and air hostesses, flight attendants had to be unmarried, younger than 25, under 5 feet 4 inches tall, and weigh less than 115 pounds. In addition to helping passengers with their wants and needs during the journey, flight attendants were also responsible for placing the luggage on board, fueling the plane, screwing down seats that had become loose, and aiding the pilot in pushing the plane into the hangar. The duties of the early flight attendants were more physically taxing than those of today, but the safety of passengers has always been the main concern. Though the requirements have changed a great deal over time, the dedication and hard work it takes to perform this job remain the same.
When most people are asked to name their favorite flavor of ice cream, the decision often comes down to chocolate or vanilla. In the world of rock and roll, the question is as equally basic for guitar players choosing an electric instrument: Gibson Les Paul or Fender Stratocaster. The debate over which guitar is superior has raged since the very beginnings of rock and roll. Famous guitarists who have chosen the Les Paul, or Paul for short, include Taiwan's legendary rock star Ubai, as well as the guitarist for Linkin Park. Those who prefer the Stratocaster, or Strat, include Sting and the late Jimi Hendrix. Even teenagers practicing alone in their bedrooms are prepared to argue in favor of the Strat or the Paul, regardless of whether they can afford to buy either instrument. The Les Paul is the instrument of choice for guitarists who prefer a sound that's thick, heavy, or fat. The Strat, on the other hand, appeals to players who want a sound that's bluesy or spacey. When the first Strat was produced in 1954, it became an instant classic. The earliest Strats now command up to $25,000 US when placed on the market. Vintage Pauls are even more collectible, occasionally fetching up to $250,000. Also, still in demand is Les Paul himself, the man whose design was the basis for the Paul, and who still plays in public every week. Most schedules for a trip to the United States include glamorous cities like New York, San Francisco, and Las Vegas. But for travelers who are interested in history and are open to discovering a city with lovely architecture, stimulating nightlife, and a unique local culture, America offers no better travel destination than Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was in the city of brotherly love, as Philadelphia is sometimes called, that the United States was born. Both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were produced here. One of the signers of those documents was Philadelphia's most famous citizen, Benjamin Franklin. Travelers to Philadelphia can visit a museum on the site of Franklin's home and tour the building where the Constitution was signed. Not everything in Philadelphia is historically significant. A busy entertainment district, where trendy new restaurants and nightclubs seem to open every week, surrounds the historical area. As many young artists have moved south from New York in search of a more relaxed lifestyle and a lower cost of living, Philadelphia has become a hot place to live. Anyone visiting Philly should take the time to explore the neighborhoods that lie outside the city center. An area of note is the bustling Italian market. As the largest working outdoor market in the U.S., it is home to a wealth of specialty stores. Though the shops are predominantly Italian, many other nationalities have made their way into the market. After you've fed on the delectable delights of the city, a stop for a photo at the top of the stairs at the Philadelphia Museum of Art will help burn off some of those calories. After all, the stairs did the trick for Sylvester Stallone.
Most people want to express themselves and feel like they're being heard. One of the easiest ways of doing this is through online personal journal publishing or blogging. Blogs are an easy way to reach a large audience and share information. There are millions of blogs all over the world, each made to reflect individual preferences and tastes. The blogger, the person who is blogging, can design their own web page, update their journals as often as they wish, choose the color scheme, and add photographs. The blogger is the designer, writer, and editor. Blogs are also a useful means of communication. A blogger can choose to make the blog accessible to everyone or a select group of readers. People who have trouble keeping in touch can use blogs as a way for friends to check in and see how the writer is doing. Readers can also be allowed to comment on the entries, allowing the writer to have feedback on their journal. The corporate world has also gotten in on the act. Many companies have set up their own blogs to let customers know what's going on at the company. Whether it's telling the world about your day-to-day life or ranting about bad policies in your school, blogs can be the perfect outlet.
Technology is moving at the speed of light, with new breakthroughs quickly becoming a part of our everyday lives. An aspect of technology that has reached futuristic heights and is spilling over into our reality is robotics. Once the stuff of science fiction, robots are the wave of the future, and they soon will be found in homes around the world. Japan, the leader in innovative technology, is at the forefront of this new horizon. Unlike other countries, such as the United States, who long to use robotic technology for military purposes, Japan is aiming to make robots for the typical consumer. At a Japanese expo held in March of last year, visitors met robot tour guides as well as ones that danced and played instruments. Visitors could even leave their children in the care of a robotic babysitter. Japan's push to integrate robots into everyday life is out of necessity. The Japanese have a longer lifespan than any other population. At the same time, they are reaching a critical point, as many Japanese are opting to have one child or remain childless. As the population ages, there will be fewer people to financially and socially support the aging masses. Who will care for the elderly in the future? More than likely, robots will fill the role of caretakers and companions. Young Japanese are also unwilling to take jobs that are dirty, risky, or physically tiring. Once again, robots will have to be utilized to do the jobs that humans aren't willing to do. It will be some time before robots are like the ones in the films of Steven Spielberg, but with the leaps that have been made in the last decade, it is only a matter of time. Eventually, man will look back at these early days of robotics and smile.
Scratching, pointing, typing, picking, eating, pulling, writing. Our fingers and their multiple capabilities are often taken for granted. On the other hand, lose one of your dutiful fingers and you'd quickly realize how important they actually are. Our fingers may also be markers for the way we act and react in our daily lives. Pause for a moment and look at your right hand. More specifically, your ring and index fingers. Is your index finger shorter than your ring finger? Or is it the other way around? According to researchers in Scotland and Texas, there is a link between the length of the index and ring fingers and the amount of sex hormones you were exposed to while in the womb. The average man's ring finger is slightly longer than his index finger. Men with long ring fingers have had higher levels of exposure to testosterone and may be more aggressive. They may be more skilled in sports and music as well. In some studies, homosexuality has been linked to a longer than average ring finger. Women generally have ring and index fingers that are about the same length. Just as in men, a longer than average ring finger signifies a greater exposure to testosterone. These women tend to be assertive, forceful, and may exhibit homosexual tendencies. When all is said and done, and the measurements have been taken, it is ultimately your brain that controls your destiny and not your fingertips.
It is common to see images of starving children on the news. We all look and feel horrible, but what can we do? Most people feel powerless in the face of such horror and wrongly believe that individuals can't possibly make a difference. Alone the task would be too overwhelming, but combined with the aid of organizations such as World Vision, aiding those in need is achievable. Since 1950, World Vision, an international Christian humanitarian organization, has been coming to the aid of millions. Their mission is to work for the well-being of those that are underprivileged and weak. In times of humanitarian emergencies, World Vision is there on the double. They provide emergency relief, such as shelter, water, and food. Without World Vision and other organizations like them, the difficulties of the poor would possibly go unnoticed. World Vision gives a voice to the voiceless so that they may finally be heard. World Vision, while on the job during times of disasters and famines, also believes in teaching communities how to develop without outside help. In other words, they try to educate and train the people of a community to make their lives better in the long run, not just for the short term. As Lao Tzu put it, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. As individuals, we are not powerless. Our contributions to World Vision and aid agencies make a difference. Perhaps soon a vision of a peaceful world without pain and suffering will become a reality.